بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا وقدوتنا محمد عليه أفضل الصلاة وأزكى التسليم اللهم علمنا بما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزيدنا علما يا رب العالمين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everybody. Good morning and welcome to Beginning Classical Arabic. We have an exciting new lesson for today, so let's get to it. First, we'll introduce the concept via slides, and then we will get into the lesson in the book, inshallah. So, we are learning about today adjectives. Okay? An adjective is something that describes a noun. So, if you have a noun, such as a pen, an adjective answers the question, well, what type of pen? What more information about this pen can you tell me? Is it a blue pen? Is it a black pen? Is it a large pen? Is it a small pen? Is it a ballpoint pen? Is it a, I don't know, whatever other kind of pen there are. Right? So adjectives are inherently tied to nouns. Okay? As opposed to adverbs, which are tied to verbs, which we will learn later, inshallah. So the question then becomes, what's the relationship between the adjective and the noun that it describes? That's what we're going to be looking at. There's basically two things to keep track of. Agreement between the adjective and the noun it describes, and the order in which the adjective or noun appears. What's the word for adjective in Arabic? There's two acceptable terminologies for it. There's na'at, which sounds a little bit too much like the English not, which is why we won't be using this, though if you come across it, it's important to recognize that that's also what it's referred to, then na'at. And then there's sifa, or sifatun, if we're going to pronounce the ta marbuta. And this is the one that we're going to be using in this class to avoid any sort of confusion about what we're talking about. So if we said that every adjective is inherently tied to a noun that it describes, then in Arabic, this noun that is described, it has a name as well. It is called mawsuf, right? So just like we had mudaf and mudafun ilayh, it's a pairing, we have sifa and mawsuf. Mawsuf is on the phonetic pattern of maf'ul, which we will talk about later, but it basically is the past participle, something that is literally described. If sifa is a description, then mawsuf means something that is described. We mentioned that there's two things to look out for when we're talking about the relationship between the sifa and the mawsuf. The first thing is agreement. Okay? Arabic is a little bit different in English because the sifa has to agree with the mawsuf in four key ways, right? Let's take an example in English and we'll see why this is so different. If we say, I have one black pen, or I have 5 black pens, the word black does not change. It is the same, regardless of whether the noun that it is describing is singular or is plural, is masculine or feminine, even though that in itself is less in English. It's the same all across the board. In Arabic, no. The sifa and mawsuf have to agree in 4 key ways. They have to agree in number. They have to agree in gender. They have to agree in grammatical case. And they have to agree in definity. That means if it is a definite noun or an indefinite noun. Well, we'll look at these one at a time. So let's look here. We have number. How does it agree in number? We have, if the noun is singular, then the adjective it's describing it has to also be singular. If the noun is plural, then the adjective also has to be plural. If I'm going to give you an example in Arabic, I could say, Muslim mujtahid, right? Meaning hardworking. I think we had this before. Muslimun mujtahidun. A hardworking Muslim. Let's just make it a full sentence here for good measure. Huwa Muslimun mujtahidun. He is a hard-working Muslim. What if we're going to make it plural? Hum, and I don't believe we've learned all of the subject pronouns yet. Muslimuna, and don't worry about the plural forms. We will learn them. This is part of how we're going to do. Yes, exactly. Hum Muslimun mujtahidun. And we will learn the different types of plurals and how to form them later. That's part of what we'll be doing with by introducing the idea of sifa and mawsuf. Is it gives us a segue to eventually move to talking about plurals and plural forms. But right now, it's sufficient to know that the adjective has to mirror the noun that it describes in number. So here, this is singular, mujtahidun, and then mujtahidun is the plural form. And it matches the noun that it describes, Muslimun, Muslimun. Oops. Moving on to gender. The adjective has to match the noun in gender. If the noun is masculine, then the adjective has to be masculine as well. If the noun is feminine, then the adjective has to be feminine as well. And we saw this a little bit before. So if we say huwa muslimun mujtahidun, you just use the same example. Minimize the variables. Okay. Then if we say hiya muslima muslimatun, the feminine version of Muslim, mujtahidatun, we have to make the adjective feminine as well. Mujtahidatun. So as you see, we have Muslim, masculine, mujtahidun, masculine, muslimatun, feminine, mujtahidatun, feminine. Moving on. Please, anybody, any questions, please interject in the chat or unmute yourself. The sifa and mawsuf have to agree in grammatical case. We've only listed two here, but this rule applies to all of the cases. If the noun is in the nominative case, if the noun is marfu', then the adjective also has to be marfu'. If the noun is majroor, or in the genitive case, then the adjective describing it also has to be majroor in the genitive case. So in all of our previous examples, huwa muslimun mujtahidun, we saw how, I'll just write it out just for good measure. Muslimun, with a dhamma, which means it's marfu'. It's part of the khabar, right? Muslimun mujtahidun. Mujtahidun has to also have a dhamma to mirror the noun that it describes. Okay? What if we had a different scenario where it wasn't going to be marfu'? Let's be crazy for a second. Let's make it the object of a verb. We haven't really learned verbs yet. That's okay. Ra'aytu, which means I saw. Musliman. Mujtahidan. In this case, the noun is in the accusative case. It's the object of this verb. What did I see? I saw a hardworking Muslim. Musliman mujtahidan. If I wanted to give an example in the genitive case, I could say, we'll use another verb that we haven't studied yet. Pardon me for that. Marartu, which means I passed by. B, let's just keep it all the same. Muslimin mujtahidin. I passed by a hard-working Muslim. I walked by him. So the sifa and mawsuf have to agree in case as well. And finally, the sifa and mawsuf have to agree in their definity, whether they are definite or indefinite. One second. Okay. Definite and indefinite. So, in our previous examples, we had huwa muslimun mujtahidun. And notice that not only did Muslim have a dhamma, but it had two dhammas, dhammatain, right? It had tanween, which indicated that it was indefinite, a Muslim, one of many Muslims. And so mujtahid also had to have tanween to match the noun that it describes. What if we moved this up into the mubtada and made it ma'rifah, made it definite? Then it would have to follow the noun that it describes in its becoming definite. What if we said al-muslimu al-mujtahidu is in the masjid, fil masjid. Okay. Al-muslimu al-mujtahidu fil masjidi. This translates as the hard-working Muslim is in the masjid. We have our mubtada and our khabar. But the mubtada is a little bit more interesting and complicated than the mubtada that we have been working with before, because we've added now a sifa and a mawsuf. we have more information about the mubtada than just, the name of the person or the occupation of the person or anything like this. Al-Muslimul Mujtahidu. Since Muslim is definite, and we can tell it's definite because it has alif lam, and it only has one dhamma instead of two, then the sifa which describes it has to mirror that completely. We put an alif lam on it, al-mujtahidu, and it will only have one dhamma instead. The second aspect, all of this was talking about agreement. Okay? All of this was talking about agreement. In Arabic, the sifa and mawsuf, the adjective and the noun it describes, have to agree in 4 things. We did not talk about, but we've seen in the examples, now the second thing that we have to keep track of, which is order, word order. As you've noticed, the order of sifa and mawsuf is flipped from English. It rather is more like the Romance languages, where we have the noun coming first and the mawsuf coming first and the sifa coming afterwards, right? So in English, we would say the black pen. We have black, which is the sifa, and pen, mawsuf, which comes after the sifa. Now in Arabic, it's flipped, it's the opposite. Al-Muslimu, that's the noun, the mawsuf. Al-Mujtahidu, that's the sifa. And if any of you know, I don't know what Urdu is, but if anybody knows any Romance languages, this is also the order of the adjective and the noun in Romance languages as well. Sister Masarrat asks a question. In this case, how come khabar does not need to be nakira? Are we talking about this example here, bil masjidi?
Yes.
Because it's a prepositional phrase. If it were a simple khabar of one word, it would have to be nakira. Like if we're a simple is statement. Well, let's say if we said ba'id, right? We wanted to say how close is the hardworking Muslim. Al-Muslimul Mujtahidu ba'idun. He's far away. Or qaribun. He's very close. In a simple khabar, yes, it has to be. If the khabar is simply made up of an ism, then it has to be nakira. However, with a prepositional phrase, that's not necessary. That stops becoming necessary. It can be either. We can say fil masjidi, in the masjid, or we can say fi masjidin, in a masjid. It no longer becomes a requirement with a prepositional phrase that the khabar be nakira necessarily. Good. Anyone, any other questions about the theoretical aspect of this all before we get into some practice?
What if you were just, I'm sorry, just speak.
Yes.
What if you were just saying he is a hardworking Muslim? No, not a. Well, okay, I guess so. You can't say al-Muslim al-Mujtahid as the khabar because that's
right.
Okay.
Yeah, you got it. Exactly. So it has to do with what we can put in the khabar. Lots of things can be the khabar. We introduced the khabar to everybody in the simplest way possible, which was just having an ism as a khabar. Now, the khabar can be sifa mawsuf, in which case it would be nakira as well, because it's just 2 isms at the end of the day. But lots of things can be the khabar. We can have a prepositional phrase as the khabar. We can have a jumla fi'liya as the khabar. We haven't seen that yet, right? So once we get away from the land of ism in the khabar, the rule of it being nakira doesn't apply any longer, right? That rule was more specific than what we introduced it as, and it seems like it's caused some confusion, so I should have probably introduced it as a more specific rule and a less general rule than I made it seem.
So we can actually say he is. So if I wanted to say he is the most hardworking student, that is possible.
Most hardworking student would be something else. That then we're talking about comparative.
He is the just the hardworking student.
هو
That is
الطالب المجتهد.
that is possible.
هو الطالب المجتهد. That wouldn't. That wouldn't. No, we wouldn't say that in Arabic. We
How
would.
come we can say? I'm sorry to interrupt. How come we can say who Allah?
هو Allah. I'll have to look into that. Because
Okay.
many things in Arabic, sometimes there's called taqdir, right? So taqdir is like something that is unspoken, that basically completes the grammar rule, right? Because even like hu Allah is not a complete sentence, right? Is there a complete ayah in the Quran that's just hu Allah? We have hu Allahu ahadun, right? Which is a complete sentence. You have hu Allahu, and that's actually the mubtada. Hu Allahu is the mubtada. Ahadun. This is called badal. We haven't learned badal yet. This is the process of giving someone multiple titles within the same mubtada. He, the doctor, the allama, al-fahama, al-qahama, all these sorts of things, right? You're kind of going on titles. And then at the end you say ahadun, is unique. That's the khabar. Right? And even huwa Allahu alladhi la ilaha illa huwa al-malikul, right? To the end of it. Is there anything in the Quran that's just simply huwa Allahu? No, I don't.
So
Yeah.
so the khawatim al-hashr, that's all mubtada.
هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الملك القدوس. I'll have to look into it.
All right, because it's all yeah. I mean, okay, sorry.
Oh, that's good. I'll have to look into that. I'll have to follow that up. And this is actually one of the benefits of tafsir. There's different types of tafasir, right? Which is the plural of tafsir. So you have some tafsir books. They're just talking about what the companions said about these verses. Then you have other tafsir. There's specifically linguistic analysis. They're breaking all the stuff that we're doing down. They're breaking down the Quran. This is mubtada. This is khabar. This is this. This is that. So it's very beneficial to get into that sort of stuff. So inshallah, I'll try to look at it and see what's going on there. Good.
Sorry, I'm so sorry to bother you. Can you please just repeat just that point about so the khabar being indefinite is not hard and fast, right? Basically.
Correct. The khabar being indefinite is like a training wheel rule, right?
Okay.
More applies to simple khabars that are strictly asma, that are strictly using ism. However, once the khabar starts to become more complex, prepositional phrases, jumla fi'liya, that rule doesn't even make sense anymore, right? Because like let's say, for example, if our khabar is let's say if we said al-muslimu al-mujtahidu kharaja min al-masjidi, right? Our khabar is a second sentence, a jumla fi'liya. It doesn't even make sense to analyze a jumla fi'liya and ask, is it nakira or is it ma'rifa? Because nakira and ma'rifa only applies to ism, right? So that's kind of the scope of the rule is more limited than what I had introduced at first. Good. No, it helps to be precise. This is very useful, not a bother at all. Anybody else, any other questions before we get to the book? Okay. Here we go. الدرس التاسع, the 9th lesson. All right. So we'll go exercise by exercise. I'll pick out 2 people at a time and you all can go back and forth. So let's take Mohammed Mu'tasim and Brother Tamim. Could you tackle these first 3 lines together?
Sure. من هذا الرجل؟ هو عباس. عباس تاجر. عباس تاجر غني.
Okay, mashallah. Okay, and that was just you, Brother Tamim, right? You did all that?
Yeah.
And Brother Muhammad Mu'tasim, go ahead and do the next one. Hamid.
حامد مدرس. حامد مدرس جديد.
Very good. MashaAllah. Good job. So, man hada rajulu. Who is that man? Huwa Abbas. He is Abbas. Okay, now we're getting into our sifa mawsuf pairs. Ghani means rich, wealthy. Like it's one of the names of Allah. Allah, Ghani, Al-Ghani. Jadid means new. Okay, so we see that our 2 pairs of sifa mawsuf here are tajirun ghaniyun, mudarrisun jadidun. Notice how they agree in all 4 things that we have mentioned before. So do they agree in gender? Tajirun, ghaniyun, yes they do. Do they agree in number? Tajirun is singular, ghaniyun is singular, yes they do. Do they agree in case? Tajirun, according to Brother Tamim, and that was correct. Ghaniyun, both of them with a dhamma. And finally, this one has a tanween because it is nakira, it is indefinite, and so does ghani. And we have a very, very similar thing here with mudarrisun jadidun. They agree in all those 4 things. And they are both in these 2 examples, they are both part of the khabar, right? Abbas is the mubtada and tajirun ghaniyun is the khabar, which is why they are both marfu' and why they are nakira. Good. All right, moving right along. Sister Masarrat, could you please, with Sister Semen, do the example with the apple? So Sister Masarrat, do the first line, the second line, Sister Semen.
ما هذا؟
هذا تفاح.
التفاح فاكهة. Oh, do I have to say this?
Yes, go for it.
التفاح فاكهة فاكهة لذيذة.
Very good. Excellent work, both of you. Okay. Sister Semen, what in this particular exercise is the sifa mawsuf pair? Where is it?
فاكهة لذيذة.
Fantastic. Very good. Sister Masarrat, what is the gender of the sifa and mawsuf in this case?
It's feminine.
Good. And how can you tell?
تعمل بودا. Ending.
Very good. Sister Semen, what is the grammatical case of the sifa and mawsuf in this example?
مرفوع.
Yes, exactly. Excellent. And I'll raise you a harder question. Why is it marfu'?
Because it's the ending.
Is everyone hearing me okay? I think that,
تنوين the top. ضمتين.
okay, that is the sign of it being marfu'. You're right. It's the sign of it being marfu' is that it's dhamma. But what determines whether it's marfu' is its position in the sentence, which is, in this case, khabar.
خبر.
Right? So if we're breaking it down, this sentence is a jumla ismiyya, right? It's a nounal sentence that begins with an ism. The 2 parts are subject predicate, or in Arabic, mubtada khabar. And the rule for the mubtada and the khabar is that both of them are marfu' by default, unless we get something else that changes that for some reason. But if there's nothing else to change it, then that means it's going to be marfu'. And that's what we see here. Marfu' over here, marfu' over there, and marfu' over here. Great job, both of you. And we can tell, because it's the khabar, and because it's just an ism in the khabar, it is nakira, right, with tanween. Fakihatun, ladhidatun. And I'm not sure if, did we have fakiha as a vocab word or not yet? Fakiha is fruit.
Yeah, I think so.
And ladhida is delicious. Ladhid for masculine, ladhida for feminine. Just in case anybody needs a refresher. Good. Excellent work. All right. Moving right along. Okay. Our next example is with this bird. Let's see. We have Sister Aram. Is it just you today, or are you there with your husband?
Yes. Assalamu alaikum.
Both are here.
Okay, great. I would like both of you to speak this exercise. So one of you do the first line,
Let's start cooking.
the second, and the other do the third.
Okay. Mazalika.
ذلك عصفور.
Good. Four is a
العصفور طائر صغير.
What is this? That is a bird.
That bird is small.
Yeah.
Sagir is small. So we have ta'irun. Ta'irun is
Small.
bird. And sagir means
Small.
very good. So what do we have here? What is the sifa mawsuf pair that we have in this exercise?
طائر صغير.
Very good. Excellent. And we notice that both of them are masculine. We know both of them are marfu' because we notice that both of them are nakira, indefinite, because they are the khabar, and both of them are singular.
Singular.
So we see how they agree in those four things. Great job. Moving right along. Okay, the next one kind of spills over to, okay, it's actually two lines. So we'll have the Sayyid family. You can split that, just someone for the first line and the other one for the second line.
Al-arbiyatu laghatun sahlatun.
Good.
العربية لغات جميلة.
Very good. Excellent job. Now, these are some new words here. We have lughatun, which means language, and sahlatun, which means easy. Look at how they're trying to encourage you. So, al-arabiyatu lughatun sahlatun means that Arabic is an easy language. MashaAllah. And here, al-arabiyatu lughatun jamilatun. I think we had jamil before. It means beautiful. Okay, and we notice, okay, that they're making it very easy for you, just giving you very basic sentences, jumla ismiya, with all of our examples of sifa mawsuf are in the khabar. Okay, in this case, each of them are singular, each of them are feminine, tamarbuta, each of them are marfu' because they're the khabar, and each of them have tanween because they are nakira and part of the khabar. Very good. And it looks like, inshallah, we will be able to finish this exercise, and that'll take us to the end of class time. Okay, so we have two more exercises. I'm going to draw a line here. Oops. Right here. So this next exercise here, brother Tamim and brother Muhammad Mu'tasim. So brother Tamim do the first line and brother Muhammad Mu'tasim do the second line.
عمار طالب مجتهد.
Very good.
ومحمود طالب كسلان.
Very good. Kaslan is lazy. Okay. Also the sloth, right? The animal, the sloth, they call it Kaslan, the lazy one. So we have again, same thing. Done a very good job in this exercise. Making the sentence structure the same, very easy. Okay, so it's Jumla Ismiya. And all of our Sifa Mawsuf pairs are in the khabar, which is eliminating a lot of, or I should say, isolating a lot of the variables. They're both going to be marfu' because they're part of the khabar. They're both going to be nakira because they're part of the khabar and they're only ism. They're both singular and they are both masculine. Finally, last exercise or last example here. Let's have Sister Masarrat and Semen.
Should I start? Man anta? Oh, sorry. So can you hear me?
Yeah, so Sister Masarrat asked Men Enta, and now Sister Semen respond to her with this one. Yes.
أنا طالب.
Good. Keep going, Sister Masarrat.
أنت طالب جديد؟
نعم أنا طالب جديد.
MashaAllah. Very good. And a very easy example. Same exact thing, right? We have a Jumla Ismiya. The Sifa Mawsuf pair is in the khabar. It is masculine, masculine, marfu', marfu', singular, singular, and nakira, nakira. And that takes us to the end of this class. Anybody have any questions? Simple enough, right? They did a very good job, authoring the questions. They really keep everything very, very consistent. We'll find there's wrinkles on this, like I showed you in the notes about how, what if we have the Sifa Mawsuf pair in the Mubtada? What if we have it as part of the object of a verb, and so on and so forth? But they did a very good job just isolating it, just putting it into the khabar of a Jumla Ismiya, so you could get the basic idea. And so next time we will explore some more difficult scenarios. Okay? If there's no questions, I bid you good day, inshallah. And thank you everybody for your time, your attention, and your effort. Alhamdulillah. Okay, take care. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.